Hello everyone. Today is 5th of September and I wish you a very happy Teachers' Day to all my students. Today is not just about celebrating teachers but also about celebrating learners like you. Because without curious student, there can be no teacher. So congratulations to all of you for walking on this tough but beautiful journey of UPS. Now, let's move on to today's Hindu editorials, wherein we will try to see articles through the lens of prelims and mains, but we'll also try interlink with other GS papers as well. So let's get started. The very first article that is worth our attention in today's Hindu newspaper talks about auto pharma sectors cheers GST slabs, airline says wings clip. Now, this particular article is relevant for GS paper 3 economy, also GS paper 2 governance. Now, the key theme, if we have to talk about, is rationalization of the tax slabs that is there. And also, there is a shift of two rate structure that is 5% and 18% of earlier from four brackets that were existing. So, for prelims perspective, the areas that we have to keep in mind while going through this particular article, we need to brush up our knowledge on GST Council, which is Article 279A, then meaning of inverted duty structure that is there in GST structure, then goods exempted from GST, such as a major shift with regard to insurance, healthcare, tractors, and basic essentials. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of this is called as a major watermark movement in the taxation history of India, wherein these reforms can be quoted as GST 2.0, which is supposed to be a milestone in India's tax journey. So the impact on important sectors with regard to auto, pharma, and MSME, then there is a direct correlation with regard to ease of doing business and also fiscal federalism as well. How these steps will lead to Vikasit Bharat mission of 2047. In this manner, this particular article is to be seen holistically, going through each and every aspect of our GS mapping of the syllabus. Moving on, the next important article that is worth reading is about Center and Manipur Government Inc. Pact of Peace with Kuki Zoo Group. Now, this is relevant for GS paper 3 under the theme Internal Security, Northeast Insurgency, and Role of Security Forces. This is even linked with GS paper 2, wherein center and state relations has been discussed. And what is the role of MHA, that is Ministry of Home Affairs. This can even be interlinked with GS paper 1, wherein post-independence consolidation can be directly linked while going through this particular topic. And the ethnic conflict that is there in the northeastern region. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about the suspension of Operations Pact, which led to territorial integrity and insurgent camps rising in northeastern areas. Then deportation of foreign nationals, the influx that has happened from Myanmar or Bangladesh. So how these steps are being taken into consideration. From mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of how we manage ethnic insurgency in Northeast as a case study. The successful case study with regard to wherein the insurgency has been tamed down and the areas or the states where it still is persistent. This can even be interlinked with balancing sovereignty, federalism, and local aspirations as well. Then there is a direct link to cooperative federalism to resolve conflict-ridden region. In this manner, this particular article is to be seen through the lens of not only prelims and mains, but other peripheral areas also. So moving on, the next important article that is there to read in today's Hindu newspaper talks about IIT Madras top NIRF ranking. Pradhan criticizes peer perception parameters. Now, this is relevant for GS paper 2 under the theme Issues in Education and Governance Policy. GS paper 3 as well, wherein innovation and research ecosystem that we are trying to inculcate can be linked while going through this particular article. The key theme that has been discussed here, not only the ranking of the premier institutions, but also what are the methodologies and the debates surrounding it. Fairness to state universities also can be quoted while ranking these institutions as well. From prelims perspective, the areas that we have to keep in mind is who launched NIRF ranking, what are the ranking parameters, peer perception is given 10% of weightage. So why is this supposed to be biased in nature? From mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of quality of higher education in India, the percentage that we allocate from budgetary support with regard to both center and state in higher education. Then there is a need for robust matrix beyond perception also that needs to be developed. Then use in essay could be around education and social equality that we are trying to provide. So in this manner, this particular article is to be seen. Moving on, the next important article that is worth our attention in today's paper is about GST 2.0 is a landmark in India's tax journey. So this is to be seen through the lens of GS Paper 3 Economy, GS Paper 2 Governance, and tax reforms can be quoted as an anecdote in essay. So I've already talked about GST 2.0 and rationalization. This article will give you some glimpse of the benefits that is there with regard to sector specific issues that has been addressed. This particular article wherein you can filter some prelims important pointers could be GST appellate tribunal, two rate system, tax reforms in agriculture, how it will help us. And at the same time, from mains perspective, there are certain points that are already marked in the article itself, wherein you can directly quote with regard to social justice, green growth, and reverse stability and revenue stability can be quoted while going through this particular article. Moving on, the next important article that is relevant to read in today's paper talks about should a commercial speech on digital platforms be regulated. Now, this is relevant under the theme of GS Paper 2 Polity Fundamental Rights, wherein freedom of speech with regard to IT Act can be brushed up. GS Paper 3 as well, wherein Cyber Security and IT Act has been discussed. In GS Paper 4, Ethics in Media and Free Speech. Essay as well, free speech versus responsible speech can be put into an argumentative form when we write some sort of essay with regard to it. The theme that has been there while going through this particular article is about balancing dignity, morality, and freedom of speech in stand-up comedy nowadays and in digital content that is there. From prelims perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of Article 19.1a, 19.1.2, wherein restrictions have been discussed. IT Act 2000 and Section 69A, wherein blocking powers is there with the government. Then the landmark cases associated with digital speech, such as Sakpal paper, Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India, and many others that I have highlighted in this particular article. From mains perspective, the debate goes around should individual dignity be a ground for restricting speech or not? Digital regulation versus censorship data that we have. From ethics angle, satire, is it a social responsibility or not? Or merely one hand go with freedom of speech, shall it be given or not? So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. Moving on, the next important article that is worth to read in today's paper talks about India-China, the making of a border. Now, this is relevant for primarily GS Paper 1, post-independence consolidation, where India-China war has been discussed. Also relevant for GS Paper 2 under the theme IR, wherein neighborhood policy has been discussed. GS Paper 3, security challenges, role of armed force with regard to India and China. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about from British era map to 1962 war to 1980s negotiation attempts, Rajiv Gandhi visit of 1988 and lessons for current standoff that we have from historical point. So in this manner, the chronology is to be learned. From prelims perspective, the areas that we have to brush up our knowledge is on McMahon Line, Aksai Chin, Operation Falcon, border agreement with Tibet in 1914, Shimla Convention with regard to India and China relationship. From mains perspective, the same article is to be seen from the lens of historical baggage in India-China ties that hinders its developments and the distress that has created over a long period of time. With strategic importance of regions such as Aksai Chin and Tawan, we can even interlink it in Act East policy and Indo-Pacific strategy while dealing with China. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically seen. The next important article to read in today's Hindu newspaper is about India's birth rate down, first dip in TFR in 2 years. Now, this is relevant for, firstly, GS Paper 1, Population and Demography, GS Paper 2, Health and Social Justice, GS Paper 3, Formation of Human Capital. The key theme that needs to be revised and brushed up while going through this particular article is TFR dips to 1.9, which is below replacement rate. Then there is regional variation as well. For example, Bihar versus Kerala or Bihar versus Delhi altogether. From prelims perspective, the same article is to be seen through the angle of sample registration system, civil registration system. What is the definition of TFR? What is the actual TFR that we need to balance our aging population and at the same time the birth rate of India? What the main relevance with regard to reading this particular articles fold in this manner, demographic dividend, which is turning into demographic burden right now, then implication of aging population at a time when we have reached the replacement level altogether. Then from essays perspective, demographics versus development are to be revised, and also the aging population in the coming time, what sort of social security net, the healthcare parameters as a responsible country that we should be developing, any other major breakthrough that has been done from the policy making part has been done or not. So in this manner, this particular article is to be seen. The next important article that is there and the last important article that I feel one should not miss is about Singapore's back India on patrolling Malacca Strait. Now, this is relevant for GS Paper 2, India's bilateral relationship with Singapore. GS Paper 3, Security and Defense and Maritime Security, Blue Economy. Also relevant for GS Paper 1, wherein the world mapping part under the theme Geography can be linked. The key theme that has been discussed and should be revised while going through this particular article is strategic importance to Malacca Strait, Indo-Pacific cooperation, green energy, defense tech, and the rising tech in this regard. Case instance, AI and ML. From prelims perspective, the areas that we need to know while going through this particular article is where is the location of Malacca Strait, Indo-Pacific Ocean initiatives. From mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of India as a net security provider in Indian Ocean region, balancing ASEAN relationships versus China's dominance in Indo-Pacific region, energy and trade lifeline, that is Malacca Strait is a region wherein 60% of global trade passes through. So if anything that happens in this particular region, the entire trade will be on heels. So in this manner, this particular article is to be seen. So that is all from my end for today's Hindu newspaper. Till we meet for the next time, take care, goodbye, and keep learning.